Let people enjoy things. How about I fucking kill you? How about that?
Hello and welcome to the Hypertrophy Odyssey, chapter 349. It is the last day of the week, aka the Big Bang Attack workout. I'm feeling very good right now. It's very early right now. Got out of work early. But anyways, to the main subject matter for today. Let people enjoy things. The main reason why I wanted to talk about this is because that idea of let people just enjoy things is some of the dumbest shit that you could possibly ever say to someone for a multitude of reasons, mostly because of the fact that a lot of the times it's used as an excuse in order to forgive basically terrible and or evil traits amongst people. I think that a lot of the time I've talked a lot about, multiple horsemen, about what is going to cause the apocalypse, and at the end of the day that's usually what people will say. It's like, just let people enjoy things. No, we can't let people enjoy things, because once they enjoy things, they will enjoy it a little too much, aka start changing laws and things like that in order to make it so they can enjoy it even more to a fuller extent, to the point where it's just going to keep doubling down, tripling down until the after effects reach other people. If you want a example of this, the entire idea of, let's say, sports was great up until they realized that the money was starting to dry out on these giant like arena deals and all that other stuff. So they had to double down on the sports betting aspect of it, which just introduced that entire idea to the sport and kind of thus trickling it down to those who may or may not have enjoyed it one day, but now have basically are getting ads for FanDuel 90% of the fucking time, or their entire stadium is named after that. So it's something like an inescapable parasite that has infected that. But it's not even just that, but it's mostly any type of entertainment that will get corrupted, because most of the people will say, oh, just let people enjoy that. No, you shouldn't. Honestly, you should judge those who do that, because realistically, those who do the letting go and allowing people to enjoy what they want to enjoy are people that will forgive a lot of things and are basically suicidal and never really have a good judgment of character. More likely than not, they probably don't have a good moral sense of standpoint. But we'll talk more about that when we get into the basement. But before we get there, I'll say this. I used to kind of be like, let's just let people enjoy what they want to enjoy type of person. But I've realized over time that that's a terrible stance, and also it's not really indicative of what I would want in my life. Like you gotta have some self-awareness in order to say something like that. If you say something like that, you don't have much self-awareness in the world, really. It's like you're letting people live type of deal, when in reality you would want to project out what you want to see in the world, because if you don't project it out, someone else will, and more likely than not, they will not give a fuck about you. So with that being said, we'll talk about all of that and the entire rigmarole that this includes, because this includes a lot of other shit. So with that being said, I will see you at Mother Base. All right, so I started this day off with single arm lat pull down, which was pretty good. But anyways, to the main subject matter at hand here. Let people enjoy things is very stupid. In fact, it would quite be retarded. The main reason why I wanted to discuss this is because I feel like this is something that happens a lot. People like to say this in order to essentially absolve themselves of the wrongdoing of others, basically. So then that way they are not seen as a person who is a sourpuss in society. When in reality, the fact of doing these types of things, the letting people enjoy things, is a way to basic skirt the responsibilities of protecting what is essentially your own cultures, whatever it may be. So thus, because of that, you end up getting a bunch of people who will go into your subculture, whatever it is, and call it and make it their own, because you have absolved yourself from the judgment that you should have done in the first place, regardless of where you were at. And because you have absolved yourself, you cannot be blamed for things going to shit,
But then again, they've gone to shit because you never took any responsibility in the first place. And that's why it's very frustrating for me to ever see anybody ever say, oh, just let people enjoy things. Yes, you can let people enjoy things, but you can't let them when they are actively destroying. You see this in all subcultures now, where people who, quote, just enjoy things start to change things for the, quote, betterment, end quote, of their own subculture. But in reality, they are destroying it because they have to have their own self-image placed on whatever they are doing rather than bringing up the things that were already there. You don't have to go very far to see these things, especially in, like, let's say video games, who have been completely ruined by people like this, as well as media like movies and TV shows. You see this all the time. People have self-inserted themselves and thus ruining the art form itself, as well as making it into some type of degeneracy. And that's what makes it even worse, is that because you absolve the other person of doing worse, they just can take whatever they want. You give these types of people an inch, they will take a mile. And that's why we have to bring back shaming and things like that, and gatekeeping for all types of subcultures and subfashions, because if we do not bring them back, we are going to lose everything that we liked about every type of thing, hobby, watching, television, sports, any type of thing like that. We are going to lose it because we are dragging others down by absolving the people who want to, quote, just enjoy things. Even if I am overreacting, this is an underreaction to what has happened to so many things, because people are stupid and idiotic who will just go for the hedonistic pleasures of certain things and try to maximize it to the point where it is quite literally disgusting and will basically ruin anything that they touch. It's what makes this entire argumentation so frustrating, because these people will just say, oh, but I'm just being nice to let people do what they want to do. You're not being nice. You are being an asshole to everybody that you don't see because you are choosing to blind yourself. It's like me poking my eyes and being like, oh, I don't see anybody being bad. You are stupid. Absolvement of shame is seen as a virtue. Even though it isn't. In this channel, I've discussed virtues in the past, and this is one of those things that is seen as something like, oh, allowing people to be whomever they want to be as a good thing, when in reality, it isn't, because the fact that when people are left to their own devices, it is seen over and over and over and over and over again throughout all of human history, since the dawn of time, that people will make the worst of situations whenever they are allowed the pleasures of the world to be unlimited. It is always the case. You can look at the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah from the biblical times as a perfect example of something like this, where people take the hedonistic pleasures of their own selves and take it to 11 and 12, and well, you saw what happened to them. And eventually I will do an episode about gatekeeping, because that is an essential part in many aspects of life. But this is the most important step, is to acknowledge that you can't let everybody enjoy things. You have to step up and actually say, no, you're wrong. Stop enjoying things, because you have to fucking choose one or the other, or else you're going to bring everything down.
And we're back. Welcome to the workout debriefing. Exercises not filmed, none. Exercises skipped. We have one, the rice bucket, because I have to go get dinner ready. But anyways, back to the main subject matter at hand. Let people just enjoy things. Now, the main reason why I wanted to discuss this is because I think that the people who say this have no clear concept of what is their good and evil and inside of them, and is probably the main reason why they say these types of things, because realistically, of course, people who say this will forgive anything as long as they are, quote unquote, enjoying it, if the other party's enjoying it, but not realizing by doing that you absolve any type of terrible acts that may or may not be happening upon the other side, because you're saying something like that, because you aren't criticizing it justly. Now, I'm not saying this to be just a fucking hater, because there is a difference between being a hater and just doing something like this, because this is almost worse than being a hater. Like, I can criticize something and with an actual, like, morality standpoint, because that's how criticism would work in theory. That's how I would see it in my brain of certain things, right? But at the same time, seeing it on the other side where people will not criticize anything and let people just live their life, of course, is a recipe for disaster, as then there are no boundaries as to what is enjoyable or not. I mean, you know, people would like to think that they have boundaries and stuff like that, but if they never really set them or establish them with saying like, that's cringe, or that's a stupid thing to like, you know, or that's stupid, you know, like things like that, even though small, but still important values in order to place upon something. Because if you don't, then the window of what is acceptable gets pushed and pushed and pushed into whatever direction that the thing wants to push it to. And most of the time, it's usually evil. Let's be 100% real here. More likely than not, I don't think things get pushed into the good section even more so, more likely than not, especially when it's something enjoyable, because most of the time when it's enjoyable, it gets to the point where it becomes a overindulgence in the said thing. That's the entire issue with it. I think that a lot of people will try to just allow themselves to be absolved from the judgment and or criticism that may happen because you are criticizing something else. So you just don't become you become a non-factor in something, and because of that, you cannot be blamed if things get worse, because then you're like, hey man, I was just letting, you know, who doesn't want to let people live their life? And of course, that's just where things end up becoming an issue, because later on, when it gets pushed to the point where it becomes a massive problem, let's just say porn, for example, now we have to deal with this problem, but nobody really wants to deal with the problem, because realistically, it's rewired enough brains, especially at a young age, that people aren't going to want to actually do anything about it because they don't see it as a problem, even though it is a problem, you know? So you've shifted along you've basically passed the buck on, and now the buck is a giant moose and is going to kill you. So it is an interesting dichotomy, especially because it's so common, and I guess it's so frustrating, because you also get many people on the other side where they inject themselves a little too much into what a person can or cannot enjoy, of course, but those always seem very rare nowadays at this point. It's like you can't really it's either you have the two opposite ends extremes where both are probably just as bad, but at least one tries to do something because they can probably see that something is going to happen to make this worse later on, versus the other side where they're just out of it completely, which is probably worse, let's be real, because then they allow the slippage of society to happen. So it is just something that I think about a lot, or at least it's just something that I've noticed a lot when people say this as like a type of way to absolve themselves, and I find it disgusting. So it is what it is. But with that being said, tell me what you think in the comment section down below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about this one. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts and opinions about this one. I know this is a common saying amongst people, so I'm very curious to hear if you have any stories or anybody actually saying this to somebody, and then you're like, you're a fucking idiot. Or the other opposite way around, where you're like, well, maybe I should let them have fun. But then you realized, oh, hey, whatever they're doing is probably destroying their life. So, you know, it is what it is. But anyways, thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video with anybody who may or may not like it. I will be back on tomorrow with a new video. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I will see you in the next one. Keep it heavy. Stay safe out there and stay cool. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.